happy Monday and happy Mindful Monday.
Happy Mindful Monday. Actually decided if it's okay with you to not do Mindful Monday today.
Yes.
Only because, you know, I've been speaking to a lot of people. We're reopening everywhere. And so I thought, mind you, it is kind of mindfulness, but it's looking at what have we learned as we are reopening? You know, what lessons can we take away from COVID? You know, while we are going back, opening up the economy, going back to, you know, whatever it is, if it's work or shopping, restrictions are lifting. And so I think, I just wanted to spend some time in a reflective mode. So mindfulness is reflection, but this is just more of a reflective mode to say, well, you know, where have we come from? Where are we going? You know, does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, because what I'm really hearing, as it's actually very near and dear to a little bit of what I believe in. When we hear information, we want to be able to apply it. It's great that we're hearing good things, but how does that affect me right in the now? And Camilla, this couldn't be a better segue, because we're in the now. And what a better way, because it's part of the umbrella of being mindful, but it's being specific in the context.
Yeah, and I know we've spent a lot of time, and a lot of my clients, we've been dealing with a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression through the self-isolation, and you know, but there's been some good that has come out of this. So I thought we could, you know, focus on that. You know, one of the things, there are five lessons I would say that I'd like to focus on. The first one is the value of life. You know, I've seen through social media, through the news, through my friends that have talked about this, through family that we've lost loved ones. We have not been able to do the regular funeral. We have not been able to say goodbye in the way that we normally are used to saying goodbye to loved ones. Yeah. So I would say people are understanding that life is shorter than you think. You know, tomorrow is not promised to anybody. That we need to appreciate each other more so now than we ever did. Does that make sense?
It makes, and yes, it makes so much sense. You know, I get I'm very emotional, Camilla. I have a lot of, and that it makes absolute sense. We all share this world. We've all going through this together. The value of life resonates like to the nth degree, and everybody's going through this. So you're absolutely correct. We only have so much time, and all we know at the end of the day, we have right now. That's what we have. So what are we going to do with right now?
Yeah, and I know I don't know about other people, but I've participated in 3 online celebration of life Zoom kind of presentations, and they were amazing, just amazing. I don't think that could have been replaced by a traditional funeral celebration. So I would personally love to see that in addition to, you know, regular celebrations. I think it just speaks volumes to what people have accomplished in life, brings people together in a different kind of way, certainly gives me an appreciation of life.
You know what? I really, it's almost, you know, how do traditions get started? Someone starts them for a reason.
True.
Someone starts them for a reason. And Camilla, what you just shared with me right now, what hit home to me was it continues the celebration of that person's life. And other people get inspired by that, because even when we pass our physical form into spiritual form, you know, and we all allow our version of God, like it's just, that's what I'm really hearing. So it has more weight to it, I think, than it resonates.
Mm-hmm.
It resonates.
And then to sort of leap into the second one, the second lesson is having less focus on material objects, right? Because we're at home, we can't go shopping, we can't buy anything. Many people were, how do you say, I mean, me included, I didn't want to go out and get a coffee. Nobody wanted to order out. We were scared about containers and whether the virus was in the food. And so we needed to focus on a home, and what's at home is relationships. It didn't matter what house you lived in. It didn't matter what car you drove, because you weren't focusing on those things. Heck, it didn't even matter the clothes you were wearing. How many people were in pajamas all day long? My neighbor across the street, she was saying her kids were like in a bathrobe. She couldn't get them out. They were just in robes all day long.
Yeah.
So there's just zero focus on material objects. And we started to realize that really, that doesn't matter in the end. The only thing that matters is your connection with your family and friends. Did you call somebody? Did you call your parents? Did you get in touch with your friends? Who did you speak to today?
So true. Camilla, so for everybody that's watching, we have Camilla Lofranco with us. And I just want to shout out to say Jill Ackerman. I miss you immensely. Jill, Camilla is a dear friend of ours in the real estate industry on the interior design. Um, you and her very similar. When we have chapters of life when we keep moving, and the value of life and friendships and relationships. She has a great little company called Stage to Sell. I've worked with Jill in the past, and I hope she's okay. Like, she's a retired MBA nurse as well that headed clinical. So talk about crisis management. I think you and her would have a lot in common in terms of how you work with people and so forth. And then I just want to say hello to Lester, hello to Michael, hello to Gordon, and for everybody that's on here. Let's Talk with Camilla, her own group, community, all of that's happening this week, folks. But when we put her name in, she's going to show up. So I just want everybody to know that this is it's evolving. And Camilla is with us a few times a week to just provide. She's a she's a registered psychotherapist, specializes in pandemics, in crisis management, and just the number one differentiator that I think Camilla brings to us versus many is she helps us kind of understand very quickly, keeps it simple, and it's like sitting down and having a cup of coffee, and you see impact. So we're talking about things opening up. We're talking about the value of life, what good we have seen come all of this. So Camilla, we're now kind of into, as you said, just the value of relationships. We're starting to reconnect, and
yeah, that brings us to the third lesson learned, which is one of the reasons why we're doing this the show in the first place. And speaking about this, and it's the focus on mental health. I think there's been a lot of focus on mental health, and it's amazing because we've been screaming from the rooftops. No one's been listening, or people haven't been listening as much. And I think just naturally we've progressed into this issue of focusing on mental health and people understanding that we need to be healthy mentally, not just during a pandemic, but just in general. I mean, there've been people that have, been really frustrated being at home. It's not just kids that are having meltdowns; it's adults that are having meltdowns too, right? Yeah. People have had personal struggles in dealing with this impact of isolation. People have been cooped up, nowhere to go, nothing to do. Depression has been at an all-time low. Statistics are still starting to come in. So there's a prediction actually in the psychological community that post-traumatic stress is going to be huge. We're going to see a lot of issues of post-traumatic stress come the fall.
Yeah.
Isolation by itself has caused a major change in how people feel and react towards life. Then there's the aspect of you can't see people. Normally the people that you would go to for support, whether it's your kids, whether it's your friends, you couldn't see them. And I guess talking on the phone isn't the same thing. I mean, I have a client, for example, she's got two kids. One of them, she lives in Caledon. One of her kids lives in Ajax, and another one lives, I forget where. But they're all like literally more than an hour and a half driving distance. She's not technologically inclined, so she doesn't do the video thing. She can only talk to them on the phone. They're working still throughout this pandemic. And, her depression has gone through the roof because she says, I can't see my kids. I can't connect with them in the same way, and I can't go out. She's not seeing her friends, and it's just been a disaster, so one of the things that I've been, promoting is making sure that you check up on people, call your aunts and uncles and check up on your neighbors and see how people are doing. I've got two single moms on my street, and I've gone and literally knocked down their door, done the social distancing thing, but say, how's it going? Do you need anything? Check in on people. Because one of the things that I learned, this is my takeaway, is when we look out for each other, then we look out for ourselves.
Camilla?
I feel better when I'm connected to people.
Yeah. Yep. I echo that. Mental wellness it's dear to me for other reasons. And when all of this came about, the number one thing that I felt very compelled with is to provide a platform to all of our customers and clients that could just follow us. And even if they got a tip here and there, it's going to keep them in the positive, because it tested us. And when you don't know what you don't know, you can start to go down a dark place, and we don't want that. So how we all come together, and I mean every single person, and just reach back out to that individual, because they care at the end of the day. We're all kind of doing different things to survive and stay afloat. But just checking in, just connecting. Camilla, I received a phone call about a week ago, and it was right out of the blue. And it was from somebody literally in Jamaica. And they were checking in to see how we were doing, which I thought, oh my God, vice versa. Just as you said, there's a lot of good that it's really brought us closer together, but how we continue to stay connected, continue to reach out, I think is going to continue the momentum of how many more people we're really truly able to help and inject. I call it positive energy.
Yeah, like I have family in Europe. I've got really good friends in Mexico and some people I know in Colombia. And just it's been really interesting to connect with them and say, how's it going? What are you guys doing over there? What restrictions do you have in place? How's it going? How are you guys feeling? How are you dealing with everything? And it just makes me feel connected, not isolated when I'm having those conversations.
Yeah. So Camilla, we've got a few people that are with us today. So just want to thank everybody for watching us. And let's talk with Camilla. When you reach out outside of Canada and you've had conversation with, what has been the feedback?
Very similar to what's happening here. So there's been a lot of mistrust, I guess, between governments and health organizations. In the very beginning, there were a lot of actually inconsistencies between what was going on with the doctors and hospitals in those countries. I got to hear firsthand what was happening in those countries versus what our media was telling us here in Canada. So there have been a lot of, let's just say there's been a lot of inconsistencies, and I started to go down the rabbit hole myself to say, oh my gosh, right? Oh, what people are saying on
yeah.
Disaster. So I had to, for myself and my own mental health, sort of put things in perspective, doing a lot of more mindfulness work, talking to people, completely unrelated topics. So one of the next lessons is doing what makes you happy. So not focusing on the negative things. We've had a lot of time on our hands. So what did you learn that was new? Some people were learning new languages. Personally, in our industry, we have to do a lot of, personal development courses in that. And we have so many hours that we do in a 2-year period. Well, I did all of mine in a month. I mean, why not, right? They're offering all these courses. So I'm complete for the next 24 months. I've done all my learning. Be productive, learning something new, like I said. And then, one of the fifth learning, or the fifth takeaway, is the importance of slowing down. Like, how many people were involved in a commute, whether it was 1 or 2 hours, whether you're driving, whether you are, taking transit, and now you're not doing that anymore, even if you are working from home. So people are saying, well, I got time to walk my dog. I now have time to, I'm appreciating life a little bit more. I'm, playing with my kids. They have that extra time. Now that the weather is great, people are, how do you say, engaging in physical activities. I see people biking and running because they're not commuting. They're not commuting to work.
Exactly. Exactly. And, for those that are watching, and like all different people, as you said, parents, kids at home, parents, all different kinds of impact, and irrelevant, I think, not so much irrelevant, but if things were getting, stress levels were rising, if you will, just literally stopping and just having them just breathe to kind of bring them back to where we are. It's more one of the most important lessons, Camilla, that I took away from the last few months, and you were the one that brought this to light, was remember that your children, like whether they're high school, they're grade school, if they're getting challenged with the work, don't sweat it. The relationship is more important right now than getting that curriculum done on time. And just paying a bit more attention to that. I applied that because I was doing a little bit of it, and Camilla, the outcome of it, by just stopping it and just, it's okay. It was, she put more effort into the last culminating than, oh my gosh, but it was because, it's a relationship. That's our daughter. And that I needed for her to understand. That's more important than anything. We'll get through this, but it's taking a step back, recognizing she's going through this too.
Everybody's going through it, and everybody's going through it differently. I think that's another thing to look at, is the way that you're handling it, the way I'm handling it is different than how our kids are handling it, different than how our neighbors are handling it. And so that's why it's important to check in and say, hey, like, really, how are you doing, Michelle? Like, really, how are you?
Yeah, exactly. Not everybody does that. And I think the more that you're involved in things, there may not always be that other person to, how are you doing? I have no idea. And because we only have our own lens that we see, and sometimes we make assumptions.
Absolutely. And I've actually made some friends during this pandemic, like checking in with some acquaintances and just becoming good friends, because we've got a connection going on now, and because we picked up the phone to say, hey, how's it going? Like, how are you really doing?
Yeah.
Now that we're venturing back into work, we're reopening right now. So again, people are anxious, and can I say no? What if my workplace isn't safe? And so those are good questions to ask if you feel honestly that you're at risk and your employer isn't following the necessary rules. Then speak to an employment lawyer.
I very much thank you for sharing that, because I had last week there was someone that I know very, very well, and just due to privacy, I'm not going to kind of make reference, if you will, but they did say to me that they spoke up through a work environment, asking specific questions because that was a concern of theirs. And they were actually complimented by many of the other employees because they had the courage enough to just ask. They just want to know. There are about 1,000 people that work there, and they're slowly bringing them back. And now they're testing for temperature. So they just simply wanted to know if somebody was to be tested positive. I just want to know what your process is. Like, how are you tracing? And that was a legitimate, just to give them a comfort level.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I have a client who just started back into retail, and you know how they put plexiglass in front of all the cash registers? Yeah. Well, there's a rule in place. They have to be cleaned every so many hours. And they're not following that in her workplace. And so now she's got anxiety. There's physical symptoms that are surfacing. Then she comes to counseling, all because she's not willing to say to her employer, what's going on here? We've been past the 4-hour mark. You need to clean. Yes. So I'm just saying, look, it's not worth it. Speak up. And if you can't, speak to somebody else who can. It's way too important for your mental health not to.
Thank you immensely, everybody that's watching, folks here, and I think you all, can support us kind of on this. It starts with our mental health. There really is very little we can do unless we really have this balance. So yes, we have to pay attention to it. And just as I know some of us, become accredited and work in different industries, and for example, I wouldn't want a lawyer performing neurosurgery on me. Thank you very much. That's what you practice. So I would much prefer to go to an accredited psychotherapist. And for me, it is all about how we talk through it, not the medication. It's all because we have so much ability to help ourselves just through to our thoughts and emotions, and what we're conveying. And if you don't, it will manifest in different ways. It just is, just like you said, and it shows up in anxiety. It shows up. I mean, my husband can attest to this, many years ago, where he developed anxiety about 20 odd years ago due to another reason. And the first thing that he knew was, what do I do? I said, we start with our doctor, and then our doctor's going to recommend us. And that's what we did. And to this day, he said, I wish people would embrace support and counseling, because that's where we start. And because he didn't understand what was going on, and once he went that path, he was able to understand it.
Right. And so on those, just to on what you're saying, I just want to let our audience know that psychotherapy is safe, it's confidential, it's non-judgmental, it's an opportunity for you to get off your chest anything that you'd like to talk about, and bounce off ideas to another professional that's doesn't have a vested interest, like let's say a best friend, to give you a particular opinion.
Yes. And Camilla, just as you say, we're X billion people in this world. We're all humans. So our brains are going to, there's things that we go through, things that we experience. So when we come through a scenario such as this, that has had major impact, and for people that are feeling challenged in any way, shape, or form, I want you all to know, and everybody that's watching, Camilla offers 10 to 15 minute time frames that you can book a time with her and just have a quick conversation. There's no cost to that. If at the end of the day it feels that there's more there, that's all in privacy. And for those that may feel that, no, I think it's a little bit more, I want you to reach out to Camilla. And for very significant, it's like the 80-20 rule. And I'm able to say this, Camilla, we have what we call a 10-20-80 rule, where 20% are really doing about 80% of the work. And for those that are, or if you know of anybody out there, Camilla has been in this space for more than 20 years. And she has gone through pandemics before. So she's coming from an extreme amount of experience. And I'm all about helping, how can you, rather than taking 10 years to get there, it's far better if you can work with some people that can help you get there a whole lot faster, maybe in 30 days, maybe in a year, but it doesn't have to take you 10 years. So let's talk with Camilla. Camilla is a very dear, dear friend of mine, client of mine, and we're here to help each other. So I want everybody to remember, keep following us, and down the road will be, let's subscribe, because we're here to help a lot of people.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're very welcome. So I want you to have a blessed Monday. And as things open up, folks, just keep these few things in mind. The value of life. We have one life. And remember the relationships, and just ask people how they're doing. And let's stay connected.
Okay.
Okay, so have a wonderful Monday. And everybody that's watching, thanks for watching, everyone. And just have an awesome Monday, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Okay, happy Monday.
Bye, everyone.